And down to the bottom left-hand corner of Daybreak, we have our purple Protoss player, winner of game number 1 from StarTale. It is ST.AcE. And his opponent in the upper right-hand corner from Team SCV Life, our blue Zerg player, HyuN.
Yep, now HyuN is a former Brood War pro, and actually a pretty good one, too. I believe, I'm trying to remember what team he was on, and it's bugging me that it's kind of like escaping my mind. I want to say he was on MBC Game Hero, but I could be wrong, so if I am, I apologize for that. But he was a Brood War pro with some wins under his belt, joined TSL after he switched over to StarCraft 2. And he's really good. He kind of plays in sort of a unique way. He's got these little sort of quirks to his play that you don't see a lot of the pros that kind of were largely StarCraft 2 all along do, especially in his ZVZ. You see some differences between him and some of the other Zergs in terms of kind of when he times his gas and how aggressive he is and things like that. But overall, one of my favorite Zergs to watch right now, so I'm really curious to see what he's going to do in this ZVP game here on Daybreak.
And yeah, we'll see what he's up to here. Of course, Daybreak is kind of a go-to map for a lot of Zerg players recently. I mean, it's so good for that 3-base, no-gas style. And we'll see if he decides to go down that line. 14 pool, there it is. Nothing out of the ordinary quite yet. ST.AcE himself, though, looks like he's saving up quite a few probes, so unless it's going to be a super late forge, I think we're going to see Nexus first.
Yeah, now I haven't seen a whole lot of STACE's Protoss versus Zerg lately, but the games I have seen of him are kind of balanced. He does go for a lot of 2-base aggression, like virtually every Protoss does these days, but he also does kind of go to 3 bases every once in a while too. So he kind of does dabble a little bit, but what?
Did you see HyuN just sent 2 drones out? He sent one to play around with this probe, never having the intention to put down this base, but he threw down the second one so we could get this hatchery started without any delay whatsoever.
You know, that's a prime example of just the little things that HyuN does that I really love about him too. I remember we casted a game. Remember we did a profile on this guy back a couple months ago, and one of the things he did that was unique in some of those games was that he was actually mineral walking his drones through Marines and SCVs to defend against that proxy 2 barracks too. So HyuN does these little sort of micro multitasking things that you don't see a lot of other Zergs do just to get those little advantages, and I'd say that's a prime example. It's really cool stuff.
Yeah, very, very cool out of him. So his drone, though, was still chasing down this probe, gets it quite far away, as a matter of fact, and we will see another base up here in just a bit. Zerglings being sent out as well, just to go ahead and check things out. It looks like we are going to have that 4-minute hatchery.
Yep, that is right. So StarTale ST.AcE not really preventing any of the economy from really going down at a normal time for HyuN. It's not too dangerous to have that 3rd base started before the 2nd base. And he's just going to kind of continue to do his thing as well. 2 gas at a pretty normal timing as well. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Protoss versus Zerg. I was talking to Infinity 7's Axelav, who is one of my housemates. He lives in the same house that I do, so we speak a lot, about the matchups and things like that. And we were talking about Protoss on 2 bases, and basically how a lot of Protoss have been sort of dabbling on 3 bases for a while, but a lot of them at the very high level, from MC to Creator in PvZ are really going back to mostly 2-base play, just because it simply is in a lot of cases more effective than 3-base or more play. You can hit so hard with so many different 2-base timings that a lot of Protoss players are just kind of saying, well, hey, why not just do that and not worry about the 3rd base all that much?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a really risky proposition. I mean, especially this map is pretty conducive to 2-base play, so we could very well see something like that. But I think that's more, a factor of the map. I mean, MC has been playing some great macro PvZ lately. That's been very fun to watch. So, I mean, some players are doing that, but I definitely have to say that the 3-base strategy, when utilized correctly, is still incredibly strong.
Oh yeah, it certainly can be. But I think MC is an interesting example to bring up too, because he was one that some people were criticizing for using 2 bases overly, and then when he did start to do more 3-base, everyone was like, oh, 3-base. But then lately, if you go back and watch, I'd say go back and watch his games from the last month and a half or so, and the majority of his PvZs, I can promise you, will actually be 2-base. So it's interesting to see him go to that 3-base, which is, like you said, extremely strong. I mean, it is really good, but most Protoss players are still preferring to kind of stick on 2 bases. So I don't know if that's something necessarily wrong with the matchup right now, but it's an interesting thing to kind of take note of,
And looks like ACE is actually not getting Warp Gate technology, and I mean, unless he's going to go like hardcore Stargate here in a second, like 5 of them, I think that is a mistake. There we go. Okay, now starting to reinvest back into that. So
yeah, a little bit later too. I mean, he had plenty of gas for that the entire time.
Yep. So well, Warp Gate is finally coming up, but it's going to really delay any sort of pressure that he was planning to put on his opponent. So expect a little bit more passive style. I mean, that actually sets him on a really bad foot, because if he decides to do some sort of a big 2-base play that you were talking about before, it's not going to work out as well for him, because he wasn't able to harass his opponent at all. Really, even if you're going for that like 7-gate blink or whatever the case is, really want to be able to put some pressure on your opponent to disrupt their economy for a while, so they don't have as many units when you're all in hits. And that's just not going to be the case, unfortunately, for ACE.
Well, right now in PvZ too, it can be a little bit difficult to tell sometimes from an observing standpoint if the Protoss player is going to take that 3rd base or not. I mean, things like the number of gateways isn't really as good of an indicator as a lot of people would think. What you really have to keep an eye on actually is the number of probes that they make. More probes, the more probes there are, the more likely they are to expand, is basically the general rule of thumb. So if we look at the number of probes that ACE has right now, let's check it out. He has about 50. So that's certainly, you know, a little bit more than you would need on 2 bases, up to 52. So he could certainly be, you know, thinking about expanding, especially with going for, I believe, no, 1-1. Yeah, okay. So he did get his +1 attacks, didn't he? I'm not just like, I don't remember seeing it, but I'm sure he got it. Yeah, he did certainly get it. And there's the 3rd base too. So yeah, I mean, this is something I talked to Axlev about as well, because I don't play Protoss. So my knowledge of how the race works is definitely a little bit less than Zerg and Terran. So I'm trying to like improve that, of course. So I do talk with Axlev quite a bit, and he's like, yeah, man, I mean, the probes are really the only way to get a good indication now, because there's so many Protoss players that will put down like 8 gates on 2 base and then take a 3rd, you know, and just want to have those gateways to be prepared for the Zerg to push.
It's just so unfortunate. It feels like ACE is being forced into this, though, in kind of a bad situation. I mean, it looks like he really wanted to be able to put on some pressure, but forgot Warp Gate research for so long, and it's going to hit so far long that HyuN's able to do whatever he wants. And when you let a Zerg player macro free, I mean, ACE is doing the right thing by taking a 3rd base here, but it weakens his position because he's not been able to disrupt HyuN at all.
Yeah, certainly could be. I mean, we'll have to see. It looks like a bit of a flank from HyuN. And oh, the Zerglings do connect, but some force fields do push them away. The Roaches, not really. Okay, they are target firing the sentries. That is definitely what you want to do in this case. But HyuN just not really doing enough damage here. It doesn't matter, though, because here he comes in with more reinforcements. It's not over yet. Twice as many Roaches as we had before. But again, will it be enough?
I don't know, man. I mean, this is getting really rough. I mean, ACE is able to start clearing out those Roaches, but now once we start to get the continued reinforcements making their way in, HyuN's just going to be able to pull them apart. We finally do have another Immortal sitting over here at the Natural, so we can at least delay for a little while he gets units in position. But those Roaches already cutting off some of those probes. Quite a bit of damage, but they walk right back into a few Immortals.
You know, there's not a lot of gateway protection for those Immortals as well. If HyuN wanted to, he could literally just walk up and probably kill him, because the sentries have used a lot of their energy already. 4th base being taken by HyuN as well. I mean, just showing his confidence right now. He knows that he's got control of the map. He knows he can put a lot of pressure on his opponent at the moment, and he's using that, you know, advantage to the fullest, certainly.
Well, he is a little bit supply blocked and had to put up 5 Overlords at the same time. We'll see if that buys ACE enough time to sit back and saturate these bases and gain a little bit more of a defensive force. He is up to 4 Immortals now. That is a fair amount. And the sentry count's pretty high as well, with a fair bit of energy. So his frontline engagement force is certainly not all that bad, but HyuN does have a pretty devastating amount of units on the field.
Yeah, I mean, this +2 in Blink is coming really late for ACE. Oops, Roach getting trapped there and immediately exploded. But HyuN can be really mobile here. He can go back and forth. ACE knows it. That's why he's put down so many cannons at his 3rd base. But here comes HyuN right now. I mean, he's got such a huge economy. He can actually afford to throw away some of these Roaches, too.
Yeah, but he hasn't done much other than kill 1 photon cannon for now.
Really.
So it looks like he's going over to just mass Lings afterwards. 44 more Lings were just in production. So he's going to be sitting on 62 Lings, building up quite a bit of gas, maybe for an eventual switch to an infestation pit here in a bit. And so far, ACE has handled this pretty well, but now he's out of energy on his sentries, and that is a pretty big thing to have to overcome.
Yeah, and those Zealots really aren't going to help all that much, honestly. Here comes HyuN right now. He's about maxed out. He's actually going to try to take the Forge. No, going after the army instead. Not a lot of force fields yet, and that army is looking pretty small in that massive Zerg units.
Yeah, unfortunately for ACE, that's just going to be the end. I mean, it's almost a 100 supply advantage now for HyuN. The last Immortal, despite its 15 kills, is going to fall, and HyuN just proving that this strategy works so well on this map and really playing it to a T as well, switching up his units when it was appropriate, and ACE losing all of his economy, going to lose this base at the very least, and well, pretty much the game.
Oh yeah, and I mean the thing is HyuN didn't really even do it as fast as we've seen some other Zerg players like Stefano, for instance, do it. He didn't get maxed out by 11 minutes or anything like that. If you kind of watch how he played it, he moved in with a smaller amount of units first, kind of gauged where his opponent was at, and then decided to go for that big max. So it hit a little bit later, but it was enough. GG.
And TSL does take game number 2, so tying things up right away.
Yeah, and not bad play at all from HyuN. I mean, he really